I'm telling you about the not-so-pleasant side of awakening. All those people who chose what resonates with them and stepped onto the stage, they broke free from the system. There is such a cool law in the daytime. When you stop working for the system stops working for you. This is something to consider. You have an ex and a current partner. And imagine that your ex-boyfriend is the matrix. Your current partner is your universe, your freedom, choice of your soul. I live by the response of my soul, going with the flow. And at the moment, when you want money, you start asking your ex for it. But he won't give any more. It's no longer beneficial for him. 20 contributions. The same thing happens with awakened women. They pump themselves up, they boost their energy, expand their soul, but they try to earn money within the matrix. When you follow the usual patterns of achievement, money for the sake of money, money for survival, you immediately send a signal to the matrix. Oh look, I'm making money off your church. And she's like, yeah, go to hell, I'm not giving you any money, you're enlightened. You're trying to play soccer on the field with a basketball. Naturally, nothing is working out for you.
Okay. Well, first of all, you shouldn't rustle when you start the video. I didn't really catch the words at first. But the essence, of course, is clear. What can be said about this? It all depends on a person's skill. When a person ignites their energy, naturally they lose control of various structures. And these structures stop providing him with benefits. The problem is that these structures don't create benefits for free. You still pay for them. You just pay at a level that you don't realize. But we have physics, psychology, and energy at the very least. And all of this functions because it is infused with consciousness. And so when a person starts to awaken their energy, when they begin to accelerate their consciousness at a certain point in time, egregorial structures, that is, these are the structures that are responsible for the system. These egregorial structures, they lose the ability to control a person. They lose the ability to reach into a person's energy with their tentacles. And accordingly, the person ceases to exist for them in their perception. People who are connected to any system, meaning the people around this person, also lose the ability to communicate with him. So they lose that thread of connection between themselves. So on one hand, all of this is indeed the case. But on the other hand, it's not a sentence. And you can continue to be in the systems. But the interaction with them is conscious. The same thing. For example, a person comes to me, he has a job, let's say, at some large corporation. We did 1, 2, 3 practices, and at some point, the egregore of this corporation can no longer hold on. Because of this, a person becomes too fiery, and that tentacle that reaches into their energy burns away. But a person wants to be in this corporation. They want to earn money this way. So what does a person do? Instead of resist, fight. With systems, he shows this system those manifestations that he, as a practitioner, has in his energy, and others, as non-practitioners, but those who are already in the system, are absent in the energy. So the game becomes interesting. How does that work? What kind of energy is this? What kind of vibrations are these? At a level above the 108th energy center, egregorial structures no longer hold anyone in any way. That means their possibilities are running out. If a person doesn't practice, they might not even be aware of their 7 centers, let alone the 108th. If a person practices, he not only goes beyond 108, he also has 109 and 110 and 108 and 1,000,008. So he has energy. It's inaccessible to real structures in the game, and it can become a subject of exchange, a subject of torque. So you can already make something out of this, some benefit when interacting with the system. That is, here's how she says, yes, all this X he doesn't need to ask. Gives, why not? You just need to know how to do it. If we, according to her, just need to give something in exchange. So, while you're asleep, while you don't understand what's happening, they parasitize on the subtlest vibrations. Basically, they're consuming you. And you just periodically grow back to feed this system again. And so you no longer feed this system with your consciousness, that is, with yours. Nature, you redirect the energies that are already flowing out of you. This is also a process that isn't very obvious, but it definitely exists. We have energy processes that we constantly emit into space. We can do this very well, or we can do it very poorly. There are energies that we are not recommended to spread out in space, to give away to that space. On the contrary, you need to generate them within yourself.
And what, for example?
Consciousness. So when we talk about what we give away, it's the energy from the channels. It's the flow from the tips of our fingers, toes. It's the flow from the channels that are inside the physical body. Channels in the head, channels in the feet, in the palms. There are many of them. There are about 72,000 channels in a person, and they flow in and out quite freely. This is the energy exchanged with the surrounding reality. Energy centers on the internet, known as chakras. Mainly, a person uses 7 of them, but there are actually many more. People who somehow manage to break through from the crowd and achieve something. They use up to 12 energy centers. Still they break away from the crowd and achieve something. They use up to 12 energy centers. So we can count -1, -2, -3, and above that 7, 8, 9. In total, there will be 12 of them. But in reality, a person has a huge number of them. Almost no one uses them. And so when a person reaches the ability to open and spread these centers, this is one of the basic settings, one of the fundamental achievements for building a fire column. When a person reaches this ability, they start generating and giving away something that others don't have. And accordingly, he becomes interesting to the systems. And the system is ready to interact with him. Not at the level of parasitism, but at the level of some kind of symbiosis. So, what she says definitely holds true. But with the right skills, knowledge, and abilities, everything is resolved very easily. Accordingly, skills, knowledge, and abilities in one way or another, I talk about this and demonstrate these practices. And it's not something that's particularly difficult to master. So if a person is basically capable, again, like in the video, to become enlightened, yes, what did she say? Yes, during enlightenment? Well, if a person is already capable of resisting enough to reach enlightenment, it doesn't take much to make a few adjustments and receive the benefits. You will pay for these benefits, not with yourself, like with food, but with the energies that are already flowing out of you. It's just that you have them and the other person doesn't. And that's where you become more valuable.
Could you please tell me, is there a difference between enlightenment and awakening?
Listen, well, these are just terms. We can subscribe to any concepts under these terms. For me personally, enlightenment and awakening are absolutely not essential. So I'm putting in what meaning is there in all of this? When a person has the ability or has experienced the perception of reality as it is, not the way it's described in books or the way you can hear about it endlessly in videos. But with his own perception, with his own radars, he saw how everything is arranged.
So how is everything arranged? So it's precisely in pure consciousness. How would you describe that?
It's all cartoons. It's all cartoons. It's all illusions, matrices, whatever you want to call it. Brahma is sleeping, dreaming a dream. In this dream, he dreams us.
And on the level, for example, of sensations, on the level of energy, it changes for a person. What about the perception of reality when he steps out?
If a person has seen the structure of the world, in my experience, from my observations, this person will no longer be engaging seriously in some life situations where he used to be extremely emotional. So he probably will never be able to, well, he might be able to, I guess. Here you see it's not so straightforward. I can explain it to you like this. When a person has seen it, when they've experienced that moment, when they return to their body and woke up here again, in the near future, he will likely be completely detached. So, he's impossible to reach. There will be nothing to hook him, nothing to engage him, nothing to provoke him. He will be unprovoked in principle by anything, neither joy nor grief, not on aggression, not on any beauties, because it becomes obvious to him that this is just a powerful being dreaming and creating this world. At the same time, that's not all he sees. He sees that there is something that observes how this powerful being creates the world. So who are you in that moment? What? Is this something that is capable of observing all of this? In my tradition, all of this is beautifully described. I've talked about this many times before. What is the original hidden, unmanifested? And initially, this is pure consciousness. All sorts of variations have already been put together from it, all gathered here.
Okay. In that state, a person loses all pleasure, all interest in this physical world. Am I understanding correctly? So he has neither joy, nor sadness, nor pain, nothing at all, it turns out. Or how?
We are physics, psyche, and energy. And when a person receives such knowledge, such an ability to perceive, his psyche is formed anew. And he needs time to adapt. Just imagine the situation. You're living your life, everything is fine, you're going to school, let's say, starting to prepare for college, and suddenly your parents tell you, you're not a real child, you're adopted. But you now have to come to another country because your real parents have expressed a desire to get you back. And by law, we have to deport you. And you're like, what the heck is going on? So you just take a pause. You just take a pause. And it's the same here. You live, you achieve, and they tell you what's important, what's not, what you should stress over, and what you should be happy about. So you're learning to interact with this world on the level of your psyche. What upsets you? What relaxes you? And what, on the contrary, stresses you out? So everything becomes clear to you after a while. And then suddenly you see that it's all an illusion, that it's all a deception. That everything you form doesn't correspond to reality at all, not even close.
That's true, but you'll still have to exist on a physical level here.
Yes, that's absolutely right. And so the psyche starts to restructure itself based on the new knowledge that you still need to dress, feed, and wash this. To keep somewhere, to take somewhere, and at the same time, to realize that it's all completely meaningless, just how meaningless it can be. And while your psyche is restructuring, a person is in a kind of moral stupor, meaning they are detached. Then the psyche reshapes and the person can become emotional. It's both sensual. He starts to fall asleep again. And the moment comes when this enlightenment ends. I draw a very clear line between the holy and the enlightened. A saint is a person who permanently perceives this. He doesn't come out of this state. He always observes the world as it is. There are even a lot of these people at the tip of my finger.
So, monks there, right?
Yes, that is, they are not in society. Society will unravel you. It will still extinguish you. The system will extinguish you, society will extinguish you. The currents of the world will still extinguish you. It's a very serious and lengthy process of creating a space where you can permanently be in that state. Basically, a person has experienced this. A little bit he was in that space, then he readjusted. And again, he's just like everyone else. But he remembers what he went through. And this memory no longer allows him to... He feels calm as he fades away again. He makes some further attempts to somehow break through to a different level of existence, a different level of being. And this level is not here, it's not in the material world. He's out there, beyond the horizon.
So how does his life change then? What was before, and what comes after? Already with this awareness, with this understanding. So it's about ease in life.
Yeah, ease, nonchalance, adventurousness, good-naturedness. Very rarely to which they take seriously. So he's always in some kind of a playful mood. That is, it is very difficult to be caught in a state where he's serious about something. It's impossible to be serious when you absolutely clearly realize that it's all a dream of a powerful being. And from this dream, there's a chance to break free. So that's why, well, a person like that probably will never be the same as before. He might fall asleep again, maybe. But he won't lose his memory. He will still remember that the world is not as everyone around him paints it. He may become, as an option, a preacher. In other words, trying to interfere with other people, to live to make other people sleep, and receive a lot of aggression directed at you because of that. That's why I say that if you have seen, thanks to the practices, thanks to the techniques, thanks to the exercises, you have seen the world as it is, not to interfere with other people, to sleep. They still don't want to see that. And there are reasons for that. When you start going there not just once, like I remember 20 years ago I saw the world, its structure, and oh my God, calm down, you've already lost everything, too much time has passed. That's true. But when it's fresh, when you refresh it, when you repeat those experiences, at some point it becomes obvious to you that you shouldn't interfere with others. Mahadevam? Particles of the original consciousness play games. They want to play, to win. Why is it so difficult? When they have played enough, they will come out themselves. They have everything that you have. You have just already used it. They do not even want to use it yet, as soon as they want. They have everything, and without your attacks, that you are living incorrectly. Everything is great. Everything is harmonious. Everything is wonderful. This is what distinguishes those people who want and do not want. Where does this desire come from?
Or this process that starts automatically.
Satisfaction of passions. As soon as a person allows themselves to satisfy their passions, I won't stop talking about it. You absolutely have to satisfy your passions. If a person tries to play a monk in the middle of a huge metropolis, that's it. It's a losing game. If you want to play the monk, go to a damn monastery and live a monastic life. If you're trying to play the monk in the middle of the city, you're just wasting your time. It won't work like that. You're just going to waste a lot of time, and most likely you'll end up resenting the tradition that advised you to do that. No. You need to maintain balance. And so, when a practicing person maintains a balance between the state of practice and the state of satisfying their passions, those passions can be anything. It can be the realization of one's talent. It can be debaucherous orgies. It could be a journey. It can be some tourist or sports events. It can be anything. Everyone has their own passions, and this needs to be realized. And so, when a person allows himself to realize these passions, he finds opportunities for their realization. That is, there is no need to play hide and seek in the middle, I don't know, in a football field, for example, there's nowhere to hide. When a person adequately realizes their passions, at some point, they get their fill and start asking themselves, what's next?
But how do you adequately realize your passions?
Well, go ahead and tell me your passions, and I'll tell you how to realize them.
Well, let's say the most common way of making money.
No, absolutely not. Making money can't be a passion.
Well, the desire to live, I don't know, on a yacht, to sail, or somewhere else, that's a desire. For that, you need money.
Not necessarily. If she's a girl, she might never need money at all. She might find another way to be able to sail on a yacht and wear designer clothes, and not work a single day in the process.
Well, if a person has a specific request for money, then that's already some kind of...
How will he die in poverty with that request?
So that's an incorrect desire. Kind of...
Well, how is it incorrect? You see, when you say that you need money, you're probably lying. I haven't met anyone yet. I admit that such people can exist, but I have never met a single person in my life who wanted only money, and that's it. Like Scrooge McDuck diving into those coins in the cartoon, I haven't come across someone like that. Basically, either a person is embarrassed to say why he needs this money, he is simply afraid he cannot even to admit their passions to themselves. He's like, I need money. What the hell do you need them for? Well, it is well there. And that's it. So, passions like money are probably just lies. A person is just afraid to say out loud what they want. And the very fact that he's afraid of it is already holding him back, achieving this, realizing this desire. So this circle closes, there's no money, and like, yeah, but it's not because you can't desire money, right? You can desire it. It's just that most likely it's a lie, and reality doesn't respond to lies. It only responds to sincere desire.
And how can you feel your sincere desires? How do you find and practice them?
We have an energy called sincerity. It is manifested in the area of the neck and inside the neck, like a scarf, all sparkly and woven from snowflakes. And you don't have to take it to heart, you know. The statistical experience of people. I'm sharing this, and you can take it in a way that's a bit personal to you. This energy, when you ask yourself with a desire or a whim, it either responds or it doesn't. I have a first course on practical energy, where I show the basic energies, the 5 fundamental energies: will, intention, love, and sincerity, and the essence. If a person says, I want money, and here there's silence, he's lying. If a person says, I want money to build myself a house, and he just started to move here, maybe even here on the level of physics. Some tingling, some movement, something like that will start. Gnashing here, then reality understands he wants a house, not money, and reality begins to slowly lead him home if he is worthy. If his relationship balance with reality is positive, but if the balance is negative, it won't lead him anywhere. It takes a long time to build that positive balance.
All right, but how do you achieve this balance?
Practice. There are many ways to achieve this, but for my life, I've chosen practices. So this is the level of performing work at the energy level. Can you perform work at the physical level? Well, I don't know. Maybe you'll have time for pensions.
All right. So if a person makes some kind of request or a will declaration, so to speak, something should manifest in his body at the level of sensations. So at the level of sincerity, as you said, of course. But what if he doesn't feel anything at all? Whatever he says.
So you need to practice to increase your level of sensitivity.
So there's just some kind of block and you need to shake it off.
Well, look, I walked into a completely dark room and I can't see anything. What should I do? Rub your eyes? Probably won't help. You need to turn on the light. It's the same here. I don't feel anything. What should I do? Well, learn to feel. All of this is achieved through practices. These practices are described in the first course of practical energy work. I periodically demonstrate these practices, even at open meetings. You just need to take action, work hard, and develop yourself.
In essence, in this case, sincerity can lead you to your true desires. When you approach them, you declare your request to the universe, and then you start getting results.
So it's a process, and there are a lot of nuances. Just look at how it all looks in the real world. The first thing you do is you figure out which desires are sincere, which are insincere, and which are just imposed by society. And you won't feel anything at all, nothing. When you do achieve it, you might not even want to pursue it anymore. You'll have this inner aversion.
It's only like that when a person gets something and never really feels it?
And I really don't care about all of this. He's that kind of guy I don't even want to get up to take it. It's a desire. Society imposed it on him, and he paid a ridiculous amount for it. Yes, he got it, but it doesn't bring him any warmth or cold. He didn't satisfy his own passions. You need to satisfy your own passions, not someone else's. This often happens when parents, for example, force their children to satisfy their own passions. This happens all the time, and the child squeezes themselves dry, ties themselves in knots, burns out by around 20, hates everyone, but at least his parents are sitting there satisfied. So, I have a kid who graduated from the conservatory, which he didn't give a damn about, that conservatory. But he dreamed of being a boxer his whole life. Well, I mean, these things are quite... It often happens in a person's life. So when he was initially fulfilling other people's desires, he got disappointed. Somewhere in his youth, in adulthood, he again fulfills other people's desires. Because you come to work and you have a boss who says, look, I want us to increase sales. And so the man puffs away, increases these sales. Then the boss says, you're great, you've increased sales. Let's move on. And you're like, yeah, I'm in the garden, what? Like, I'm a good boy, that's great, of course, but you can't buy bread with good boy. And then the second person gets a slap in the face, realizing that they fulfilled someone else's desire, and it doesn't bring them any warmth or cold. And then 1, 2, 3, and the gloom starts, and the person doesn't want to do anything at all. They just stick to the couch, staring at the wall, where the TV hangs, or a monitor. It doesn't matter, and you can't make them do anything anymore, because they've gotten so bogged down in fulfilling other people's whims that they can't even dream about their own. If a person comes to the conclusion fairly early on that you really need to, first of all, understand what you want from this life. What do you want to do? What do you want to achieve? What do you want to experience? What situations do you want to find yourself in? Then you start to slowly move towards it. In some incredible, miraculous way. Suddenly, it turns out that, for example, to build a successful business, it's not at all necessary to finish high school, get straight A's on your diploma, go to college, graduate with honors, and then go to work and build a career. It's not at all necessary to do that. You might have been deceived into thinking that you have to do this. But we have evidence that is not true. You can achieve your intention from absolutely all angles. From absolutely all angles. And now, getting back to the yacht and the woman. So, if a woman finds a worthy, loving man who knows how to earn money, who has already achieved all of that, and is willing to share, then she won't even have to work for a single day. She basically won't need to earn that money. She will just live with pleasure. And to get what they want.
If a person is already in enlightenment, they can still satisfy their passions and desires. In other words, they become completely uninterested in this external world. On the other hand, they have to come up with desires for themselves in order to achieve them.
When a person achieves enlightenment, it is actually unjustified. Why? Because in most cases, it is the result of some practical actions. So you push yourself to see this. In other words, you restrain your mind, you restrain your body, you turn them off for a while, and you free your consciousness. Yes, you see, this is how the world is arranged. And then the body and mind relax like this. And we also have needs. We also have desires. We also want something there. And it turns out that on the one hand, a person is self-aware in a different way, but its parts, the body and mind, they continue to demand what they demanded before. For them, nothing has changed. Because our body is not consciousness. The path is clear. And it will continue to want to eat just as it did before. And this is the infamous consciousness that has awakened. It can disregard the body, and then that will lead to death. Such things can also happen in the course of events.
What ways are there to awaken this consciousness?
Practices. For example, when I practiced, I went through asceticism. Through asceticism, by powerfully constraining myself at the two previous levels, I released the third. You can imagine, Sharik, a balloon, a sausage. You squeeze it on one side and it swells up on the other. Well, asceticism roughly gives that kind of opportunity. But again, you squeezed it, it swelled up, then you let go and it spread out again. So there needs to be balance. Here, there needs to be harmony.
But asceticism is just one of the tools.
Yes, asceticism, mantra practices, meditation, other various things.
It's exactly everything that directs our attention inward, right? So it's definitely in our energy.
That's certainly true. But there's a certain maneuver here. You need to create conditions for the cessation of perceiving this reality.
What are those conditions?
Here already, practices, once again, practices. You see, we have attention. Our attention directs consciousness. When you live in the middle of a huge metropolis, your attention is like smeared, just spread out across the space, crucified on it. And it's very hard to pull yourself out of the outside world. Yes, you can train yourself to pull that attention inward. It will work. Personally, to do this, I would go to certain locations where there's no hustle and bustle, no distracting processes, no energetically active entities, egregorial entities, inorganic entities that create conditions so that you absolutely don't dive into yourself, so that you can tap into your emotions, so that you can be amazed by some small achievement of yours. Just recently, I had a conversation with a person who, we were doing practices, I gave recommendations for the night, and the person started practicing at night. With these practices, they started to have an effect, and the effects started to show, and that was the end of his practice. I said, it's great that you experienced effects, but our goal wasn't just to trigger effects, it was to achieve a result. Well, the result was an out-of-body experience. But the person was so amazed that he started experiencing some basic effects that he jumped out of the practice, and that was the end of his practice. And so, our reality is structured in such a way as to pull you out of your practices with all its might.
Anton, I thank you for your answers. We'll leave links to the training in the description below the video. Also, feel free to write your questions and comments. Maybe we'll answer them in the next video.
Do you want to unlock your inner strength and learn to manage energy? The course, Power of Consciousness 1. Practical energy will provide you with tools to improve health, develop intuition, and gain a deeper understanding of the world. Join and start changing your life right now. Link in the description.